When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever I've done, thou hast taught me to say.
Just a few words can sometimes change everything. You ever heard these words? The doctor said, or I am leaving. Sorry, you don't need to come back to work tomorrow. I am your brother, Joseph. With this last statement, not only was the identity of Joseph revealed, but what God has been doing through all these events was now known. How could he still be alive and in this place of importance? At first he simply said, God sent me before you to preserve life. You see, Joseph had been sold into slavery by his own brothers when he was 17. And after that, he was unjustly thrown into prison, became an interpreter of dreams for the Pharaoh. He ruled the entire land of Egypt, and he came face to face with his brothers. We can't even imagine half of the things he went through. He had been an arrogant young man. His self-importance had greatly angered his brothers and caused them to try and be rid of him. Joseph, from his pit of despair, rose with wisdom. Any revenge he felt had been replaced with compassion. Joseph had grown and forgiven. But the brothers have lived with this all these years, knowing what they had done. So now they come to buy grain from this Egyptian man, and they have no idea who he is. They had not thought of ever seeing him again, especially not as a leader in Egypt, well-dressed, well-spoken. He was a slave. Slaves didn't usually live very long, and if they did survive, they were broken in body and spirit. Joseph recognizes them immediately. He tells them not to be distressed or upset, that everything is good. So what are they thinking? Is this some kind of a joke? What will he do to us? They had thought he was dead. They had sold him and figured they would never see him again. But Reuben has felt very badly all these years. He had managed to save his brother's life, that's true, but he had let insecurity and jealousy get the better of him. None of the brothers ever thought they would cross paths with him again. Especially, they never thought they would be asking him to help them. And perhaps the most amazing thing is, Joseph did help them. Joseph is so glad to be reunited with his family that he weeps. He weeps for lost time, for lost trust, for lost memories. There have been no apologies yet, but Joseph doesn't care. He doesn't want to waste any more time. He has seen the grace of God at work in his own life, and with God's help, he is able to extend that grace to his brothers, even though they might not deserve it. It's not a cheap grace. It's a scandalous, extravagant grace, one that surprises and challenges all who hear it. Joseph tells them not to blame themselves because God has sent him ahead of them so that he can help them. The Lord works in mysterious ways. I believe that. I know that I do not understand all that God has in store, nor the purpose of everything under heaven. I also know how unhelpful it is to face a difficult time and have someone pat you on the back and tell you God has reasons for everything you're going through. Those words may make the speaker feel better, but not the one who is hurting. In our scripture, Joseph finds meaning from his suffering for himself. This is the crucial difference. He was ripped from the only life he knew by his own family. He was enslaved, jailed, and feared for his life. Yet he has come to the other side of his distress, and he's seen God's hand holding him up. God found a way for Joseph out of no way. But I'm grateful that no one forced him or tried to tell him what to understand. When we are with someone who suffers, the kindest thing we can do is to sit with them and give them space to see and find that God is with them. Bragging that his brothers would one day bow down to him is what got him in trouble in the first place. But here his words seem a little different. Having feared him dead for years, Joseph wants his father to know that he is not just alive, but that he has been greatly honored for all this work he is doing. Everything has turned out more than okay. He sends the brothers back home loaded down with good things to help his father believe the good news. And let's be honest, he probably would like to impress his father a little bit. As soon as Jacob hears the news, he starts out to see his once dead, now alive son. I don't think the amount of donkeys and grain matter to him at all right now. The best possible surprise, the best possible gift is his son is alive. Now, if we were to read the long scripture before today's section, we would see how Joseph recognized his brothers the first time they came to buy grain in Egypt. He asked them many questions and he tested them. He sent them home with much supplies and told them to bring back the youngest boy. He would keep one of the brothers in Egypt, and they could go back to get the youngest one. Now the father was very fearful to let Benjamin go. He knew what happened to Joseph many years ago. But finally he relented. Again, Joseph tested them. He had them all to dinner, and he filled their sacks with grain. And then when they left, one of Joseph's servants ran after them, looking for a silver cup. They found the cup in the youngest son Benjamin's bag. He was accused of stealing it, and the punishment would be that he would have to stay as Joseph's slave while the others went home. This had been carefully planned to see if the brothers had really changed or not. If they went home, leaving Benjamin in Egypt, Joseph would know they were just as wicked as they had always been. But if they stood up for Benjamin and refused to leave him there, he would know that they changed. The brothers offered themselves as slaves so Benjamin could return home. They had passed the test, and Joseph was overjoyed. He was overcome with emotion. In all history, there's only one man who had the distinction of making this dramatic rise to power, from prison to prime minister's office, and that man was Joseph, son of Jacob. But Joseph's rise to power was not his finest hour. His finest hour is when he received his brothers, revealed himself to them, and graciously forgave them for all the evil they had done. He promised to nurture them and their families in the very best part of his domain. By human standards, this may not be something to get all excited about, but in the eyes of God, what Joseph did to his brothers made him much greater than all his contemporaries. It made him really the most Christ-like person in the Old Testament. It also made him an example of grace for God's people of all ages to follow. Joseph seemed to know what the brothers were feeling, so he asked about the father. He called them close to him. He tells them not to be grieved or angry. He gently leads them to see how God used their behavior of selling him into slavery to save them and their families from starving to death. Often when someone rises to a place of power, they can and do get even. The powerful ones selling the brothers into slavery would have been good, or just sending them away to perish in the famine, just doing what seemed fair. But that's not what Joseph did. Because if Jacob's sons do not survive, then God's promise to Abraham fails. This moment of reconciliation is crucial to the larger movement of God through Genesis, Exodus, and on into the next chapters. And it never could have happened if Joseph had not forgiven his brothers. Joseph's story lets us find ourselves in that world. However different our reality is from Joseph's, God's reconciling movement in the world still and always depends on forgiveness. Everyone has access to forgiving, and the dramatic movement of Genesis chapter 45 longs to be played out again and again whenever someone is wronged. There's the parent who embraces the man whose drunk driving took their child, or the pastor who forgives the man who robbed him at gunpoint. Many such stories are told all the time. A friend forgives a friend. An enemy forgives an enemy. Reconciliation breaks out in these moments, and suddenly the position of the victim changes dramatically. In the moment of forgiveness, The wronged one is transformed from the critic of the world as it is to co-creator with God of a new world. Forgiveness brings freedom. Maybe our world is not so different from Joseph's world. Maybe, just maybe, forgiveness and reconciliation are God's true prosperity. Just maybe our choosing to forgive someone who wrongs us will help God's plan to move the way it is supposed to. Whether we choose to forgive someone or not to forgive is not just our own business anymore when we look at it that way. Forgiving someone starts a ripple effect in the world. Just maybe, because you forgive a person, that person will be changed into a new creation and go forward to forgive someone else. Each time we forgive, we are doing what Christ has done for us. And to God be the glory.
Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take